Okay, so Jai Shri Krishna, we are looking at second chapter of, sorry, eighth chapter, part 2, and from text number 1, we seek the blessings of Radha Madhava, Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna, Bal Gopal, Gonitai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and assemble devotees so that we can try to learn something from this incredible chapter. Over to you, Riyansh.
Yes, Raj. Text line. Kavim Purana Manushya Sitara Anoraniyam Sam Anusmaretya Sarvasya Data Ramachincha Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature.
Text Prayana Kale Manasachalena Bhakta Yukto Yogi Balena Cheva Prurmatya Pranamavesha Samyak Satam Param Purushamupayati Divyam.
One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows, and by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Text 11. Yadaksharam Veda Vidu Varanti Vishanti Yadyatayo Vitaraga Yadichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tatte Padam Sagrahena Pravakshe.
Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation.
Text 12. Sarvadvarani Samjamya Manahridini Rojacha Murti Ajatmana Pranam Astita Yoga Dharanam.
The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga.
Text 13. Omitya Ekaksharam Brahma Yaharanma Anusmaran Yaprayate Jandeyam Sayati Paramangatem.
After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet.
Text 14. Text 14. Ananyacheta satatam yoman smarati nityasha tasyahan sulabhaparda nityayuktasya yogi.
For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain. O son of Pritha, because of this constant engagement in devotional service.
Text 15. Mamukete punarjanma dukkhalema shashrata nabnuvanti mahatmana samsatim paramangata.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection.
Text 16. ఆ బ్రహ్మభవనంలో ఒక పునరావర్తన వచ్చిన మాము పేరు కౌంటేయ పునర్జన్మన వెచ్చతే.
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again.
Text 17. సహస్రయుగ పర్యంతం ఆర్యర్ బ్రాహ్మణ విడు రాత్రియుగ సహస్రాంతం దేహో రాత్ర విరోచన.
By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night.
Stated अव्यक्तया सर्वा प्रभवन्त्यः रागमे रात्रिमागमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रे व्यक्ता समन्य.
At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again.
Text 19. भूतग्रामसा एवायं भूत्र प्रलीयते रात्रिमागमे वशे पार्थ प्रभवत्यः रागमे.
Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being. And with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated.
Text 20. परस्तस्मास्तु भावन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यसा सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति.
Yes, there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is.
Text 21. अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इति युक्तस्तमहो परमं गतिं यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम.
That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destinations, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns. That is my supreme abode.
Mhm.
Text 22. Purushasa parapartha bhaktya labhastvananyaya yasyantastani bhutani yena sarvamiram tatam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading, and everything is situated within him.
Wonderful. Thank you. So let's have a quick summary of these verses from 9 to 22. This world is a temporary university, learning place, specifically created to give life lessons. So as spiritual beings, life in a complex world of matter is an incompatible situation. The reason being, we are eternal beings and we're trying to enjoy or make a life in a temporary world where nothing lasts, everything changes. But we are unchangeable, we are spiritual beings. So we're trying to enjoy in a place where everything is temporary. It's not a situation which is compatible. When one becomes frustrated by the pursuits of this world, we can realize that happiness lies in another realm. So this world will frustrate us because nothing is permanent. No matter how much wealth or family or possessions we have, everything changes at the time of death. Everything changes. If not before, it'll definitely change at the time of death. So at some point we can realize that this is a place where we won't get happiness, and that happiness lies in a different place. While the material world is rubber stamped as a constantly changing place of misery, the spiritual world is distinguished as being eternal and all blissful. There are many painstaking ways in which different spiritualists conduct their lives in order to attain that supreme destination. So Krishna explains a few in these verses. And having attained it, one never returns to this temporary realm again. So what's good to learn is what are these different destinations which these different varieties of spiritual practitioners attain. The karma kanda, these are the devotees who worship the demigods, in exchange for something. They use the Vedas to get benefits from the devatas. So they may stay on earth, they may attain heaven. But when the good karma bank account is used up, they come back to earth again. The karma yogi is one who does his duty without worrying about the result. So he will attain either good heavens and then again come back, or attain a good family and continue on his journey, her journey. The Jnana Yogi, because here there's some conception of the absolute. In the Karma Yogi stage, there may not be. In the Jnana Yogi, there's some conception of the absolute. It may be at the Brahman level, in which case they will attain Brahman. And Jnana Yogi is where the process is meditation and reading. Yes.
Raji, can you once again explain the Jnana Yogi and Karma Yogi?
Yeah. So Karma Yogi is one who does his duty. So Arjun, for example, does his duty of fighting. And Krishna says to him, don't worry about the result. Whether you win or lose, it doesn't matter. That's the Karma Yogi, because he is not going to worry about whether he succeeds or he loses. It doesn't matter to him. He's just doing his duty. Jnana Yogi is one who is trying to understand the absolute truth through knowledge and meditation and they're higher than the Karma Yogi because they have some conception of the absolute truth. And it probably will be at the Brahman level that God is formless. And they may want to merge with God. Astanga Yogi goes a little further. Astanga Yogi will seek out the Paramatma within himself. And the Astanga Yogis, they will perform great tapasya, which in this age is very hard. And they will attain either the Brahman or the Paramatma level. And what does attaining Paramatma mean? Well, Paramatma is Sirodakshai Vishnu. So they'll attain Vishnu. Then the final stage is Bhakti Yogi. The Bhakti Yogi encompasses all of the other yogas. Bhakti Yogi is one who is trying to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his destination, should he be successful, will be Vaikuntha or Golok Vrindavan. So, interesting to understand these processes, different destinations of the different practices. So we want to attain, we want to get out of this material world and go back to the spiritual world to serve Krishna. Of course, we can serve Krishna even in the material world. The advanced devotees don't even want to get out of the spiritual world, get out of the material world. And we know this yoga ladder we've been through a few times. Karma Kand, Karma Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Astanga Yoga rather, Bhakti Yoga, and the best, of course, Bhakti Yoga. Very direct process to attain the Supreme Lord. And as Krishna says in this verse, one who remembers him at the time of death will attain him. Whatever one remembers at the time of death, one will get. So the story in the Bhagavatam is about Maharaj Bharat, who was performing great austerities to attain the Supreme Lord. But at the end of his life, somehow or other, he remembered a deer because he was looking after a deer. And he became a deer in his next life. But the Lord was very kind to him. He allowed him to remember his life as Maharaj Bharat. And as a deer, he realized, oh, made a bad mistake. So he went, as a deer, he went to the place where the sages gathered, and he would just remain with them, hearing the katha, taking their remnants. Then in the next life, he became Jad Bharat, and he could remember his two past lives. And as Jad Bharat, he attained the Supreme Personality. He didn't make any mistakes. He realized that he was diverted last time, but this time, no diversions. Any questions, any comments? Surinder, anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Prabhu, and Dandavat to all the Vaishnavas, Nitai Gaura Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, a few things I would like to share.
Mm.
So, in Prapana Jivnamritam, it is mentioned as follows. Everything devoid of a relationship with Lord Hari should be rejected. One should not reside wherever the river of nectarian tidings of Krishna, that is Krishna Katha, does not flow. Wherever Krishna's surrendered devotees cannot be found, and wherever the grand festival of chanting Krishna's holy name is not conducted, even if it is heaven, it's the prayers by the demigods. And then we have a few verses here. One verse from Prahlad Maharaj. He says, eagerness to attain to the bliss of Brahman must be known as unfavorable to devotion. O Guru of the universe, now that I can directly behold your divine form, I reside within the ocean of pure ecstasy, and all other pleasures, including the bliss of merging with Brahman, appear as insignificant as the water in a cow's hoofprint. This verse was spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. And then we have a few others. Now this one is liberation prays to become devotion's maidservant, and devotion apprehends the impurity of liberation's association. So it's like in the form of conversation. Who are you?
Mhm.
So the answer comes, it is I, liberation, Mukti. So then again, why have you suddenly come here? Then the answer is, oh Lord, because you are always absorbed in thought of Sri Krishna, I have been promoted to the position of your maidservant. Just so, then that was the answer of Mukti. And then the bhakti, devotee, answers, just keep a little distance from me. Then Mukti answers, oh, why are you so harsh upon an innocent person like me? And the devotee answers, by the mere mention of your name, the sandalwood paste or gopi chandan tilak that adorns my body and which represents my reputation as a devotee of the Lord will vanish altogether. In this way, yes. So, and then here there is a prayer, Bengali translation of Bengali verse. It says, according to Vedic injunction, who acts out of his worldly function, that soul takes birth again and again. According to my previous action or your divine predilection, if another birth for me does remain, then just one thing I have to say, oh, hear me, Lord Krishna, if you may, if within the home of your devotee, I may be born in an insect body, that cannot but be your mercy. In my heart, I'll be very ever happy. Devoid of your devotee's company, in an ignorant non-devotee's family, to be born as even Brahma, the creator. For that, O Lord, I'll never ask you. With folded hands now before you, this is the earnest prayer of your servitor. Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Thank you.
Very interesting conversation. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaur.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, so carry on, Riyansh and Shyammalini.
Text 23. Yatra kale tvanavritim avritim chaiva yogina prayatayanti tam kalam vakshami bharatarshava.
O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which passing away from the world the yogi does or does not come back.
Text 24. Agni Jyotiraha Shukla Sanna Savataranam Tatra Prayata Gacchante Brahma Virojana.
Those who knew the Supreme Brahman attained that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god. In the light, at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, and during the 6th month when the sun travels in the north.
Text 25. Dhumaratres Tata Krishna Samvasa Dakshinayana Tatra Chandramasa Jyote Yogi Prapani Vaktikya.
The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back.
Text 26. Shukla Krishna Gate Hete Jagat Ashashvate Mate Ekaya Yatana Vritim Anjaya Vartate Puna.
According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, he returns.
Text 27. Text 27. Naiteshati Partha Jana Yogi Mohyati Kashana Tasmat Sarvesh Kalesha Yoga Te Bhavarjuna.
Although the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion.
Dakshite Vedeshu Yagneshu Tapashu Cheva Laleshu Yatpunna Phalam Pratishta Atyeti Tatsarva Idam Viditva Yogi Param Sthanam Upeti Chajam.
The person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
Wonderful, thank you. So that's the end of chapter 28 and summary of the verses 23 to 28. As different spiritual practices are discussed in this chapter, Krishna concludes by outlining the most effective process to attain the Supreme. This Bhakti Yoga, the path of active service to God in a mood of devotion. So you're doing seva to the Lord in a devotional mood. It's described as the topmost and quickest spiritual path. Following other processes, for example, Ashtanga Yoga, the practitioner has to be careful of all the technicalities and intricacies. So, for example, as Krishna was saying about the yogi who passes away when the sun is in the north or the south will determine whether he comes back to this world or not, because the results of either are very different. However, with Bhakti Yoga, which is a very powerful process as required in the age of rampant materialism and temptation, coupled with individual weakness, lack of spiritual aspiration, the devotee is completely reliant on the Lord. Does not have to worry about where the sun is. So this is the point that for the Bhakti Yoga yogi, he is just reliant on the Lord. Whether the sun is in the north or the south, doesn't matter. Whether he's remembering Krishna at the end of his life, doesn't matter. The reason it doesn't matter is because he's fully engaged in service of the Lord. The Lord will fully protect him, wherever he is. So the lesson to learn, lesson 35, the devotee simply relies on the mercy of the Lord. Even if the Lord offers him all kinds of liberation, devotee, he does not accept because he simply wants to serve the Lord. Krishna finds it impossible to repay the debt to such a devotee. He's conquered by the devotee's love because he cannot reciprocate. The example is the gopis who love him unconditionally. They don't want anything back from Krishna. They just simply want to serve him, want to please him. And in that mood actually conquers the Lord, because the Lord wants to serve the devotee. The devotee says, no, I don't want service from you. I'm going to serve you. And that competition, the devotee wins. So the Lord becomes indebted. So this is one of the verses in the Bhagavatam, 5 kinds of liberation. Salokya Shashti Samipya Sarupyai Ka Tvam Apit Atu Diya Manam Na Grahayananti Vina Mat Sevanam Jana. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. Salokya, Srashti, Samipya, Sarupya, or Ekatva. Even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are basically becoming one with the Lord, that one, which is not a good thing at all. Living in the same planet of the Lord, having the same features as the Lord, like that. So, because they simply want to, here they are actually, having the same opulences, becoming his personal associate, having the same bodily features oneness, living on the same planet. But because the devotee wants life after life to remain a pure devotee at the lotus feet, to conserve the Lord unconditionally, he doesn't need any of these. The Lord becomes very, very happy with that devotee. Shyam Malini, is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Thank you.
Good.
It's okay.
Thank you. So, Inda, anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Haribol. Yes, Prabhu, in a summary form of the whole teaching of this chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, can be understood with one shloka of Brahma Samhita as follows. Pantastu koti satavatsara sampragamyo vayo rathapi manaso munipongavanam sopi asti yat prapada simniya vichinta tadve govindamari purusham tamaham vajami. The yogis tread the path of strictly controlling the life breath, or the greatest sages tread the path of sharpening their perceptions by assiduous rejection of the non-real in quest of that is a goal. Yeah, in quest of the non-differentiative Brahman. They all aspire to reach that supreme supramundane truth beyond the worldly intellect. And after trying for billions of years, they may reach only the boundary of his lotus feet. It is that primeval Lord Govinda who I do worship. So it explains about the yogis' pathway. After billions of years, they only may reach the boundary of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Not about the Astanga yogi trying to reach the Lord. And also the Mayavadis, those who are seek in quest of the non-differentiative Brahman, they as well, they only reach the boundary of the lotus feet of Lord Govinda after billions of years, like many, many lifetimes. But the devotee of Krishna, by always chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and always meditating on Lord Govinda, by the grace of Hari Guru Vaishnava, will attain the lotus feet of Krishna very quickly. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good. If there's no other questions, comments, let's finish chapter 8 at that. Amazing chapter, which where Krishna gives us this incredible dialogue between him and Arjuna, and he answers this question of how the devotee reaches the spiritual realm. Very good chapter. Chapter 8, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.